Hello and welcome to the Pens and Pixels podcast. I'm your host, Cal G, and to my left is the coordinator extraordinaire,
Mike Dent.
The podcast is the place to come to for the art and news of video games, comics, and movies that week.
But not this week.
Not this week. Mike is on vacation. Mike is in lovely Mexico.
I am.
Drinking mojitos and...
Recovering
and eating burritos and salsa and tequila.
Tequila's at least that's something.
Yeah.
You're being pretty stereotypical there with your burritos and taquitos.
I was trying. So, because Mike's out of town, we cannot update you on all the lovely news that's gone on this week. Maybe there's some huge thing. Maybe Metal Gear 6 got announced. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Mario Odyssey came out early.
Actually, by this point, Mass Effect... Well, no, it wouldn't have.
No, not yet.
No.
Soon.
It'll be about to drop.
About to drop, maybe fucking Sony's E3 plans leaked, and you can't hear about it from us because Mike's on vacation. That's what's more important to Mike, is relaxing and just...
I had a vacation in 5 years.
What a fucking excuse. Anyways, this week, we are going to be going back and doing another 5-minute warning.
Yeah.
Which is, we just throw a bunch of questions out at us, and we have 5 minutes to answer each one, and it's just a slew of everything. It's a little bit of art, a little bit of gaming, a little bit of movies.
Well, these were actually pretty popular with you guys, so we're going to be doing them again and again. But, here we go. Oh, I got a timer.
Yes, you do.
I need to time us for 5 minutes.
Yes. Was there any Pens Pixels housekeeping? Still the Capital Game Expo?
This came a Capital Game Expo coming up. That's it.
That is it.
That is it. So prepare for your 5-minute warning.
Woo! Woo!
That's Cal's production value. As my producer, he does great work.
All mouth noises. Okay, Mike, are you ready?
Yeah, the entire intro we have is actually entirely Cal doing his mouth noises.
That would actually be really impressive.
It would be.
You should pay me more in that case.
I would.
60 cents. Be more than I'm getting now.
Get practice. Come back and press me.
You ready?
Yep.
Has an art style ever stepped you out of a game? That's worded weird, but you know what it means. Has an art style ever stopped you from playing a game you might otherwise want to play?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. In two cases. One case has always been actually Bethesda's work inside of Fallout or any other games, because they're still so stuck and basically not updating.
Mm-hmm.
They
have some pretty ugly shit.
Yeah. And the game components are what makes their game so amazing, including Skyrim and the rest. But it's so shitty in comparison to the rest of the world. Mm-hmm. They don't update to the newest stuff.
And even when they do, in Fallout 4, it still looks not as good as other stuff.
It's behind. Right now with Mass Effect about to come out, everyone's complaining about Mass Effect's human faces and how they look really crappy in comparison to the rest of the game, or the fact that Horizon, as a first timers, they've done such a good job with it. Bethesda just keeps walking around being nope. And I'm I get bumped out all the time by just being Jesus Christ, this looks so basic in comparison.
It does, and even at the time, even back in the day, when Fallout 3 first came out, it still didn't look impressive.
Yeah.
The scope of the game was impressive, what you could do was impressive, but the actual visual style is not great. And I don't know if that's a 3 artist rendering thing, or if that's the actual art direction, being terrible.
The modeling.
There are actually, but there's a lot of good concept art.
That's the thing. The concept art is really great. The art direction's great, and the visuals are great because they really accomplish that whole classical look. It's the 3D modeling and final polish within all the graphics engine they don't seem to put in. Mm-hmm. Even when I was first looking into Fallout, and then I would look up visuals of it, or videos of people playing, I would see it and they'd be this is the story of the game, and then they sit there and stare at a skeleton and talk about how the skeleton has a history, and I'd be why is this now I get why after playing the game why that actually is interesting, because you played this whole arc and the story unlocks and you get the history of what happened before the bombs went off, but visually sitting there and just suddenly having someone stare at a skeleton and tell you why it's cool. I'm there's nothing visual. It's just a skeleton in a fucking chair.
Mm-hmm.
So it really did pull me out.
No, absolutely. That's a great one. One for me is Jazz Punk. I pulled it up on the screen here because I don't know if Mike knows what the game is.
No.
I think it has a horrendously ugly art style. But the thing is, the game itself is actually it's kind of quirky and weird and something that I would actually want to play. But it just looks so ugly that I just can't get into it. And I feel they were really going for a kind of an outsider art type vibe to it, and I get it. It's a weird game, and they got a weird art style, but it's you can be weird and good, but this is weird and ugly, and it just completely stop me from wanting to
as
play
a great
this game at all.
example, as a contrast to this kind of reminds me of the new game that's coming out, We Happy Few, which is like that.
Yeah.
Like, it looks fucking weird, and it does actually look
It looks like Dishonored or something.
Yeah, Dishonored. But it's intentional, because it's supposed to look like that weird 1960s English, steampunky kind of, like, Fallout meets Bioshock kind of look. Mm-hmm. It's intentional, and they did a great job with it. This, you're right, like, so many bright, stark colors.
And I don't want to, like, hate on it too. I'm sure it's an indie game, and it's not like they have like a ton of people. I'm not sure if any of them were artists. It might just be like the developers doing what they can or whatever.
Could be.
But it is just so like
no, but I mean
distractingly bad. It doesn't make me want to play it at all.
Even as a developer, if you're going to sit down and you have no artist and you're stuck being the one to create the visual elements of it, like look at Owen. Like Owen sat back and figured out what design rules.
Yeah, and he made a very like stylistic, nice looking game with.
And it's very weird, but it comes across.
Yeah.
Right? And like he just was like, all right, the rules of design say that you don't do this. So don't do those.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Do you have any others for yourself?
This was the first one that came to mind. I'm sure there was something else that we have talked about that I can't. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I just can't like.
Well, what's the game? Would you give it a mechanic or a look?
No, that's the thing. I know we've talked about literally this thing before about an art style like being like, oh, it's too much for us. Like how we couldn't watch shows when they had bad art styles type thing.
Oh. I mean, the only one that came to mind was Borderlands for me.
Yeah, Borderlands is... I mean, I know some people like that art style.
For me, it broke me up because the characters were designed so wacky and crazy, like this crazy western, like, wacky world, and, like, the guy holding the gun to his face and being like, we're gonna go crazy and punk rock, and bam! And then instead I just walked through Brown, and my character I never saw.
That's not wrong.
No.
Borderlands is the weird one, because I do like a lot of the character designs. Mm-hmm. You're right, in the first game, it is just this, like, kind of barren wasteland. The wasteland doesn't even really look like that cel-shaded look as much. It almost looks like semi-realistic compared to the characters who are very like vibrant. Yeah.
And then even then, like all the characters were basically the same dude with the mask and yellow pants, and even then you don't see them that often because you end up just shooting them from far away. Like it was just things that moved, and even the monsters were like the same thing. So it was like, I don't know. Hey, watch out! That's it.
Hey, watch out! Okay, next up. Will there ever be a moment in video games, just like now in films, where visuals don't matter anymore? There will be a standard for visuals, and the only thing that matters is story, gameplay, and controls.
No.
No, I don't think so either.
When will a game ever have to a point where visuals... Like, that's such a dev thing to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, think 30 years from now, we can achieve ultimate photorealism. I still don't think that's the be-all, end-all of, like... Because there's still so many art styles you could choose from. There's still so many things you can do with that. I do think games are unique in that...
Like, we're going to have in the future where, like, you're going to play Mario, but it's going to be just literally a fat plumber, like, standing next to you. Like, with his gut sticking out and, like, his hairy back and everything. Like, no, you're going to want your goofy, cartoony Mario. You're always going to have a style.
Yeah. No, yeah, I just think that, I mean, like, it almost sounds like it's only a photorealism thing with that question, right? I think games are unique in the fact that, like, when we review them, we also have to take into account things like, does the engine run well? Does it look good? Does it control well? Whereas something like a movie, no one ever asks, like, does the movie have color? Yes. Well, is it all in focus? Yeah. Like, those are technical things we just take for granted because of the way things are. I kind of think that's what this is getting at. It's like, is there a point when we don't have to worry about that as much? But I can't see that ever being the case.
No, and even
you always have to have an art direction.
Yeah, and even if you're talking about, like, visuals, like, if you get into a game and everything's first person in the way that, like, you are the character... and you're shooting magic beams from your hand, someone's going to figure out what that magic beam looks like and make it look cool. Because if it just came out like a firework, you'd be like, well, this is boring. Mm-hmm. But instead it actually looked like a full, like, Goku Kamehameha, that would look a lot better. Like, so people have to make those decisions and design those. So, like, no matter how realistic and how far
there's no way we don't worry about it.
No,
yeah, exactly.
Like and UX and UI design is like that user interface design to figure out how things flow together. So you're going to have a HUD or some sort of menu system that's going to pop up and float in front of your face, something that's going to register and show your health or whatever, or a menu system to manage your resources and your items, etc. All of that has to be designed. And, like in good games, like actually in Fallout, right? Like making it all look kind of nostalgic in 1940s, 19 or 60s, whatever the decade is. Like that's part of the visual design, all of it. Like it's always a part of it. There's a huge portion of this design work that goes in. So like
even if you took this, it's a weird question because even if you took it and flipped it on, like, is there a part where we're not going to have to worry about the engine? It's like no, because like it's not just like a camera where a movie like we have a $20,000 camera and it looks great. It's like no, people build engines and inherently just have bugs in them, and we always need to you need to develop around them and like
even if we get
as many
into
as you can.
like we get into the systems where we're like liquid computing and it's like as fast as the human brain, it doesn't matter. Like you still have to build it and make sure it works. Right, and then you're right. So like the testing and debugging and all that stuff, someone has to construct it. There's
not worrying about something anymore almost makes it sound like
it would just make
procedural art or something. You know what I mean? Like, there are shit for like that when you're there's speed tree or whatever, and it's like no one like someone modeled those trees at some point, but it's all just variables, and you scatter these fucking trees around. They all look different.
Procedurally generated video games in the future could be something, like in the way that No Man's Sky failed to be, but. Sorry.
No, you're right, but it was a nice little gut punch. It's like, hey, remember that game? Boom.
Fuck you.
Fuck off.
For some reason, you won an award and didn't show up. They were so sure they weren't going to win that they didn't show up to the award, and they won.
It's like Suicide Squad winning an Oscar.
Yeah, they probably didn't even show up either.
I think they might. There was a makeup team, so they probably did.
Yeah, they're probably sitting there going like, "We got to go." But yeah, like. It's never gonna not be a thing. It'll never.
No, I agree. That we should end this question early because of that. Like, there's just that's the end of it, right?
Well, no, but I mean, like with the procedural.
That's the thing with games. You need to worry about almost every aspect of it. They're so designed.
Yeah, but with the procedural generated side, unless we have an AI that is literally human and has creativity, which is like the big conundrum: can we create someone who has a robot that has creativity? Procedural generation, as per fucking No Man's Sky, generates boring shit. There was another game they were talking about in another show we were watching where they decided to change the algorithm to replace if a planet had a primary like resource that was like iron or something like that, it would look like the actual planet would in real-time space. Yeah. But it turns out space is boring, so the computer is just doing exactly what it was told to do.
Yeah, every planet was like beige.
Yeah, it was just everything was brown. Like, if that's the case, like, how long until a point where we will get to where a computer's just going to make it up for us? In that context, I'm just a brain in a jar, and, like, we're good to go. Like,
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Like, I'm just hooked into the Matrix, forget everything else.
Yeah, totally weird. Yeah, weird question. I can almost see where they're coming from, but it's just can't happen with video games, really. No.
Yeah. Or film, or anything. Creativity always...
No, but I mean, even with the, like I said, with the camera thing, like, I think that's kind of maybe where it's coming from. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Next up. Here, a little more of a softball question. Is there a sequel to a movie that you've always wanted? Yes, all of them. All the things I love, I want sequels to. I don't care.
I don't know if I don't have any sequels anymore, because we're in the age of sequels.
No, but even, like, it doesn't matter, like, you could even say, like, you want another never-ending story. Even though they have 5 sequels already, like, you could say, that... I don't think this is, like, there's only one. I mean, if that's the case, what has only one? Fucking... I want E.T. too. How did E.T. not become... Oh, that's weird. Anyways, like... Yeah, I would fucking love to see a Gremlins 3 with the actual little animatronic robots. I want a Gremlins 3.
God. Jesus. Well, because everything I wanted to have a sequel, most of them have sequels, and they've been shitty sequels. So, I mean, like, I could do the whole, like, I wish I could get good sequels out of these, but I think that's kind of a lame answer.
Well, I mean, inherently, yeah, I want the Gremlins sequel to be good. I don't want it to be bad.
No, but I mean, like, I want a sequel to Tron, which they're apparently working on, and I want it to be a good sequel to Tron, but, like...
yeah.
I want a good
this
sequel
one could
after,
be, so,
after they fucked up making a bad sequel. Like,
can't make nothing?
I'm so drawing so many fucking blanks.
Okay, so I want a sequel to Critters. And so Gremlins, and then Critters. Critters is fucking amazing. Tremors is getting a sequel for some reason, which is fucking weird. Yeah. It's with Jamie Kennedy. Yeah. The guy who was on X Factor, or, no, Jamie Kennedy Experiment. Yeah. And he was always like, you got... X'd, or like he did this stupid thing. Jamie Kennedy's a fucking weirdo, man. I don't know why he's in that movie. Anyways, Tremors is still happening. Good on them, I guess. I would love another Hellraiser that was good. I know they're making one right now. It's gonna be bad. So I just want another good one because they've been terrible for so fucking long. I'd love a good Exorcist sequel too.
That'd be nice. Actually, that's a good one. I'll go with you on that one for sure.
Yeah, like they could like. Leave it in James Wan's hands, leave it in James Wan's hands. He could do an excellent something with The Exorcist. Yeah,
I could. I mean, this is again aiming for like nothing but him, but I'd love to have a sequel to Serenity and the whole Firefly thing.
Oh yeah, okay,
that'd be great. God, Jesus.
Would that be a movie or a TV show?
Movie.
Yeah.
I don't want them to have, like, I mean, I want a TV show. It'd be amazing to have a TV show, but the thing is we've talked about this before. I know that the Firefly TV show would never have the entire original cast anymore, either moved on to other shows.
Well, let's live in a fantasy world and say it did. Like,
if it had the original...
This is an ideal, like, this is fucking make-believe fantasy world.
If I had my ideal, I'd have a continue a next TV show, but like as it stands
They're
right
all
now...
still young, you know?
Just sticking them all together for a movie seems more plausible because you could book that off for all of them. So, like, a sequel movie seems like something nice to have in that context. I would like to have Neil Blomkamp's actual sequel to Aliens.
Oh, that's a great pull. If you listen to last week's podcast, we had a news story about that one. So
yeah, I would want to have the real Neil Blomkamp's and a Ridley story in that context as well. I would like to have a proper Terminator 3 and just like wipe out the rest.
Yeah,
Get,
for
like,
sure.
From Terminator 2 to Terminator 3. And Terminator 3 to be the ending of it. Because, like, in Terminator 2, they basically said they reset the timeline and now the destruction would never happen. They could have one last movie where they sent the last agent back to try and set everything back in motion and then stop that and be like, all right, they can't send people back anymore because that future doesn't exist. So, fuck them, you know?
The Terminator timeline is so complicated that, like, they almost all exist on their own. You know what I mean? Like, they're just all fucking, like, that could have happened. Maybe it did or didn't.
Yeah, no. So it's just the multiple timeline bullshit. So, I mean, there's that thing. I mean, we're getting the Predator sequel. Hopefully it's good.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they're getting Predator, yeah.
Getting another Predator would be awesome.
We live in a good world. So, yeah, no, I can't even say Pacific Rim because we're getting one, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, most of the stuff's coming with sequels. We're in a world of sequels right now, so
Hellboy.
It's
3.
like...
There we go.
We could reignite that puppy. God, I mean, I'm trying to think of a more classic movie that's only had a singular shot that I never got more out of that I wanted more from.
Again, I would love another Friday 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, it's just been horror stuff for me. But again, I want them good because, like, I know they're eventually going to come back, but they're just going to be fucking terrible.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, they keep failing doing Friday the 13th. Nightmare on Elm Street, the last one was bad. I can't believe they haven't tried it again, though, actually. It's been like 7 years.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I would like to see a good Ghost Rider.
Yeah. It would be a sequel at this point, or be a
fucking... It'd be a re-release.
Yeah, it'd be like a reboot, right?
Yeah, like a reboot. There's a lot of reboots. Like, I'd have a lot of reboots.
I would like to see a Ghostbusters sequel with the same cast, but, again, done better.
Oh my god, yeah.
Right?
I would even just take a sequel right now. Like, that's fine. The first one happened. Let's really get to a sequel. Move on from the weird shit that happened from the first one.
Yeah.
And just make me a good Ghostbusters film.
Yeah, and give me a little more Ghostbusters vibe than the last one was missing, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And I think you...
I like the cast. I like the girls.
Well, there you go.
Alright. Moving on to the next one. This one gonna rock our socks or leave us with awkward silence?
Okay. This one's pretty funny.
Okay.
How many games have a story worth a shit?
Last of Us.
How many games have a story worth
Last
a shit?
of Us.
Not which games have a story worth a shit. How many?
The Last of Us.
Very few.
That's just it.
That's almost it. I think the first BioShock has some merit.
Okay, so yeah, let's just count down. So you've got BioShock, Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, actually.
Yeah, I like that one.
Mass Effect has a good story.
Yeah. Mass Effect's a pretty good one.
Yeah. And
the thing though is it's so weird. Like I would never. Like, if someone came up to me and was like, "Why do you play video games? They have good stories and stuff." I'd be like, "Well, Last of Us is very good," and then I wouldn't point them to Mass Effect, even though I enjoy Mass Effect personally. Unless they were a sci-fi fan at all, like I wouldn't be like Mass Effect. Like I don't think it's.
I point people to Mass Effect.
I don't think it's the same resonance as Last. I guess maybe Last of Us is such a high bar, but like
the new Tomb Raider first one, not the latest one was good, but the first Tomb Raider with her whole like coming to become a survivor and surviving through that whole thing and going through the island. I really like that.
Yeah, that one's really good, actually.
Yeah.
I think I might point people to that one. I'm trying to think of it as, like, someone's coming into this, and I'm being like, here are the stories that are worth something, but, like...
These 5 work for me, though.
That's the thing, so many games just have...
Just nothing to it.
Just nothing. And, you know, like, I enjoy some of them for what they are, like Gears of War or something, but Gears of War's not fucking, blowing anyone's socks off with, really. Its incredible storytelling or interesting characters.
Really drawing you in. But the thing is, you could turn to the Final Fantasies in the classic days. Final Fantasy X story was really interesting. Final Fantasy IX's first 3 quarters.
Yes. Yeah, until the very end.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something there, probably. I think 10 is the one I'd point people to.
Yeah,
It's
for
simple
sure.
enough for like regular people to understand.
Yeah.
Even 7 gets a little complex with the whole like Genova and Sephiroth and people being like, what the fuck is it's his mother?
And why would they care? Like it's so Japanese, you're right. But 10 is pretty cohesive in a whole. So
it's like the summer goes on her journey. Like it's simple enough to be like a Disney movie almost, right? Like.
Yeah, for sure.
This giant whale reincarnates every 10 years. I mean, it's not that simple, but like it's pretty simple Final Fantasy.
Yeah, this giant whale that has something else inside of it that makes it reincarnate every 10 years. Yeah.
See, and again, like I enjoy Resident Evil, but I would never point anyone to that series and be like, "Great story."
No, God,
play it for the story.
Yeah, not a chance.
I'm just so ingrained in it. Like that's just how it is now. Actually, Silent Hill 2 has a great story. I would fucking highly recommend that one.
Yeah, for sure.
Silent Hill 3, even for that matter.
So yeah, like I want to say Metal Gear Solid because it does have an incredible story, but it's also the worst story.
Oh yeah, it's a.
Like I would never enforce someone. It's like telling someone to sit down and read Grapes of Wrath. Like it's a great story, but I'm not going to recommend that to everyone because not everyone's going to enjoy Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah, like Metal Gear 4 has like hour and a half cutscenes where you're just like,
yep.
No, who else would watch this but me?
That kind of thing. Or sitting through all of those fucking what's that communication device called?
Oh. Just the TACCOM or whatever the fuck it is, the comm.
Yeah, the comm system, and like because like in 2, instead of doing visual scenes of people talking, they just went straight to that comm thing going back and forth for about 2 hours.
Yeah, just green people.
Yeah, green people for like 2 hours at the ending. Like you land and the fucking giant thing crashes and you stand in front of the guy and they're like you're sitting boss to boss and you're like, all right, here we go. 2 hours of fucking green screen.
Mm-hmm. The thing is like a lot of games honestly are almost the equivalent of like summer blockbuster movies, especially AAA ones. Maybe that's not. I don't want to discount all these indies. Obviously, Firewatch is a good story too. Actually, we failed to mention.
Yeah, and so was not Gravity, but the Gravity like game there I played.
Oh yeah, what was that called?
I forget. But
yeah. But yeah, like a lot of games are just they almost have the equivalent of like AAA blockbuster summer movies, where it's like you can see where the plot's going from a mile away. It's just very tropey, and it works because they're just trying to get you through with a big gun or something, like Call of Duty or something.
Yeah.
They're not trying to do something like The Last of Us did, or even Journey. The story's not really like there, but
yeah, no, Journey
it's more of an experience.
It's literally as the title calls it. It's a journey.
Yeah,
like that was the joy of the game. But that's the thing. Some games are told by story. Some stories in games are told by gameplay, right? Like playing the game makes the story more complete, and that's more interesting. But like you're right, most of them don't really like Dishonored. Everyone's like, oh, it's so like the intrigue of the royal family, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, I can't see that really being that intriguing. The first one wasn't to me, anyways.
No,
and I played quite a bit of it.
Yeah. I can't really see it.
I know Assassin's Creed gets some people, but like
no, God. I played the first one and I was like intrigued to find out what happened. But by the time it turned into us finding alien technology to save the Earth,
yeah, it all gets so like esoteric. It's hard to stay.
Like by the third one, we saved the world from the solar flare, and then they're like 6 more games, and I'm like, but the solar flare hit Earth and wiped everyone out. What are they trying to achieve now with his memories? There's no one left. History is gone.
Oh, Gone Home's another good one. I would, Last of Us instantly comes to mind. Probably maybe the Uncharted series. They have, like, people seem to like those.
Yeah, I could give that to someone.
No, that's it. I can't recommend any other. That's good.
Good.
Whatever. Do World of Warcraft style MMOs have any future? This is a question that was asked back in 2007. So.
But no, we've talked about this because like basically no now.
No, I cannot imagine another one taking off.
I can't see the world coming back to that system.
Final Fantasy XIV has a pretty big player base, and that was
still running.
Newish, ish.
And I played it. I played it for 2 expansions or 1 expansion, the original game, and then the next expansion. And it's a beautiful game. It was an MMO goes. It was one of the last one that I played, and like I ground and I did like actual raids and shit, and tried to join a guild and all that. And WildStar was one of the ones I tried, didn't work out, like a bunch of the others. I played a lot of MMOs. Played Aeon, all of those, and I loved MMOs. The grind in it is so dumb, but there was an addiction to wanting to just get the best armor and play better than everyone else. But that style of game, like World of Warcraft, designed that UI and that system. A bar across the bottom that holds all your spells and all your items, and then bars across the side for whatever extras you have. You hotkey it, and then you have a character that you level up from 1 to 80 or whatever the fuck it is. You gather armor, and you pick a class. Like that, those exact rules never broke for every MMO, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah, like I think you'll never see a new launch of an MMO like that.
No.
It's just going to be the best parts of MMOs taken and implemented in other games like Destiny or something, right?
Yeah.
That's the future.
That's the future. We'll never see another MMO RPG as per World of Warcraft, as per Final Fantasy 15.
The only thing I could see is like several years from now, 10 years from now, like someone making it as a nostalgia play, being like, remember this, and it's like a smaller style thing in that people play on Steam or something.
Or, Blizzard and the rest come back to us, because like that's the thing, World of Warcraft or any of those games like that, or League of Legends, right, where they take an old trope of a style, like an RTS, and they make this really incredible breakthrough in UI design to make it completely new and interesting, right? Maybe there's a context for that again. And that could possibly happen if anyone could do it as Blizzard. They are masters of that craft. Like, they made the first-person shooter basically a new thing with Overwatch. I've never experienced a first-person shooter, and especially a competitive first-person shooter, which I would never play. Something I turn on all the time. So, like, I can give it to them to be able to reinvent that genre on their own themselves. But, the thing is as much as I loved Final Fantasy 14 and I was back into that old grind and everything, by the time I was grinding up my raid weapons again, I was like, fuck, I have done this for 7 games. I don't want to do it again, especially since it takes 122 hours to get even anywhere close. And the moment I fall behind everyone else, they're like, oh, you're not geared enough to come on my raid. And I'm like, okay, fuck it.
What's the point of my life?
Yeah.
What is it?
So, no, I don't think they're going to come back in any major context for themselves. I really hope that someone comes back and reinvigorates them in some fashion.
No, the future is just taking the best elements and making new and big and better games. That's it, this kind of thing.
Yeah. The only other game that ever really did it for me that actually did make a change in the system and literally only failed because of this fucking Sony internet hack thing that happened and crashed the entire Sony servers for like 2 months was DC Universe Online. And I've said this before, but it was the only one that broke a lot of these tropes where like you needed a healer and a tank, technically, but you really kind of didn't, because like it was all based around action-oriented gameplay. Like, I played a character that was this acrobatic, dual-gun, like, tech person. So basically Batman with 2 handguns. And all of the abilities...
Deathstroke.
Yeah, Deathstroke. Actually, my armor at the end of the day looked a lot like that, too. Just realized who I was. But, like, all of my abilities with the 2 guns kept letting me do these like backwards rolls and rolls to the side and back and stuff like that and do all these AoE attacks. So I had times where my entire team wiped and then I just kept rolling backwards and like firing at the boss. And I took out like a raid boss just by endlessly, while my friends are on the floor going, go! And just doing backwards rolled shoots and stuff. And then I killed it and it won. Like, it broke some of the tropes with that. It was one of the few ones that took itself away, and I really still think today would have been something that could have evolved into a new form of MMO, an action MMO where the world was just people jumping around without having to like stand and go 1 cast bar Frostbolt,
wait for my
2
cooldowns,
cast bar Frostbolt Frostlance, 3 okay cooldown, where's my rotation, like like that old thing, move left to a dodge acid attack. Like DC Universe Online was the only one that was just like, shit happens. Keep moving.
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. If you run down the middle of the street and Bizarro's there, you're fucked.
Hey, watch out!
Alright. Next up. Which one should I choose? There we go. Have we truly entered next generation yet? Or are we just seeing the same stuff as last generation, just prettier? I would say up until this point, up until Horizon, I would have said we're just doing the same games we had last generation, but prettier, basically. But Horizon's combat system is something I'm not sure we could have done last generation on those consoles, and that's probably the first real step that I can see. Unless I'm missing something.
I mean, I'm thinking of the only other PS3 games at the end of the day, and Final Fantasy 15 was the last large jump.
That's the thing, like we have games that are like big, like The Witcher's big, but like Witcher could be done on the old consoles just like if you had a slightly smaller map or something, and it wouldn't take away from the game necessarily.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not a next gen thing, and that like this literally cannot be done on a last gen console. I mean, a little like less pretty.
I don't think Final Fantasy 15 could have been accomplished on last gen console. It was definitely tech heavy for a lot of the combat system that was in there, especially considering how free flowing it was, and you could literally just kind of dictate it yourself in that context. And that was the thing about Final Fantasy 15. At the end of the day, the best thing about that game was the combat.
No, for sure.
And I don't know if that could have been accomplished, but at the end of the day, you're right. Like outside of that, the rest of it wasn't anything that those previous generations could have done.
Well, I know also Shadow of Mordor, a sequel we're seeing on now, so War of Mordor. The Nemesis system on that literally couldn't be done on the last gen systems because they made a game. They had a port of the game on the Xbox 360 and PS3, and they didn't have the Nemesis system in there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny, but because it was like the selling part of that game. Otherwise, it's just like a game where you have Batman combat, but you're a sword man.
But I mean, like, it's that crossover, right? Because like even Destiny was on the older consoles and stuff.
I think that held in current gen Destiny back a bit.
It did.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. A lot of games we're still doing that, and now they're all like, "Fuck it, we have 4.5." So you're either a 4 or a 4.5. Right?
Yeah.
Like you have no choice.
We're also like 3 years into this generation now. Like we're finally starting to see it. Final Fantasy 15, Horizon, like things that are taking advantage of this hardware.
And hopefully Mass Effect, and then what's after that? No, Persona's not really gonna.
Persona could have been done like 2 generations ago, just less pretty, I'm sure. Like
that's not gonna.
That's not doing anything.
But Mass Effect and Horizon are gonna be those games that are gonna push us a little further. So I mean, I guess we're on the cusp of it, but we haven't seen a lot. And even Horizon, while you're right, it does accomplish a lot that I haven't seen before. It's still a little bit of a step back. The one that I know, if it turns out anything like that video showed, is going to be the next generation. It's God of War. Like, if
I was just going to say that purely based on the tech that you can leave the hammer or the axe like at the beginning of the game and call it by the end.
Or the fact that like in combat, it's not just like hack 1, 2, 3. You can like smash someone up against the wall, then walk over there and throw an axe.
Yeah,
like you could literally just take this enemy out in any way, and that enemy is going to react. You hit him in the back of the knee, they're going to go down on one knee, then you could crawl up on their back and hit him in the head. You could do anything to this character. You can fight them, like throw the axe and fight with your fists, and if you fight with your fists, they're going to counter and block. Like, that's actually the next generation of PS4 for me.
Yeah, that's a good point, that because we have not seen visceral combat like that in another game, really.
No, not really, not at all. So, like, that's really, I think, the true next generation. Knocking parts off of robot dinos is what you think is making Horizon
I've never had combat like that before.
Where you can
not knocking parts off, like just the combat itself, just being as dynamic as it is, having this AI like countering me. I'm roping it down. It's still trying to like kind of me like that kind of thing. I've never seen it before. That's totally new.
Yeah. I think maybe you've seen stuff I haven't seen.
No,
I found the AI.
You're farther than me.
I found AI a little bit dumb sometimes.
I've never done something like that before. These all feel like I downed my first Thunderjaw last night, and I had like the first like sense of accomplishment I've had in a game.
Oh, it feels so good the first time.
I don't even know the last time I had one. So like, it's been so long.
Yeah, it's true. The battles are so dynamic and so intelligent.
I just don't think that could have been done on the 360 and stuff.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah, like that's I cannot imagine that being done. I think that's a next gen combat system.
Yeah, probably. I mean, world-wise, one of the big things is that I think is like next gen currently. Loading is almost gone. I don't get clipped loading over to anything. I mean, fast travel they load because literally when the screen blanks away, you know what's actually happening behind you is your character's going and then just being carried over on the map. It literally is what it's doing. So it's just
right
waiting. That's why, like, when you try and go halfway across the map, there's just Aloy going.
They just write that into the story.
Yeah.
Minimal loading times. I remember Cliff Bleszinski, the guy in charge of Gears of War, saying during the era of the 360, like very beginning.
Yeah, we can finish here.
He said like loading is last gen. He's like I want games to not have like any loading times anymore. And like he was trying to hit that like early 360 and like. Yeah. Notoriously, there were tons of games that had just brutal loading times. Even this generation, Bloodborne actually had like a very brutal loading time.
But like Horizon Zero Dawn has none.
No, very little. You boot the game up and then like that's it.
You could just
aside
run.
From fast traveling, like you said. Yeah. All right, next one.
That could actually be Aloy's special ability because they're all like, Aloy can take anything out, and you're like, really? She just has a thing that like glows and shows her weak points. No one else figured out the weak point of this monster?
The giant glowing canister? Did you guys try to hit that?
Yeah.
Have you tried?
Which I have to admit is one of the dumb parts in the beginning of the game, where they're like, so Aloy, what's the weakness on this thing? And she uses her focus, and she's like, the canister on the back. And he's like, how did you know that? And you're like, so you knew, and why did you need this thing? Apparently everyone else could just be like, it's that. Like, you don't have anything special.
No, you can track people really well with it.
It's true.
What time period or art style is underrepresented in games?
Time period?
Maybe not so much a time period as just like we haven't seen a lot of like Egypt stuff. Like Egyptian, really. Not a ton.
Yeah, you're right. I can't really think of anything that's truly covered it, but
apparently the new Assassin's Creed is doing it,
yeah.
but like actually going to be in Egypt with pyramids and sphinxes or whatever fuck. Like, but like sphinxes are
it's
Egyptian,
true.
right?
You were drawing a blank. You were like, I'm not cultured enough to answer more of this. I gotta pick something.
Sphinxes, worshiping cats.
Yeah.
Papyrus. Hieroglyphics.
There you go.
There we go. Those are all the things I know about Egypt.
You're so uncultured.
It was made by human misery. I know these things.
No, I mean, as a culture not covered, you're right. Egypt isn't one that gets covered very often. And while it has lots of
time period, but it
stuff,
could be like just anything underrepresented in games.
It has a lot of interesting stuff in Egypt, but the thing is I always think Egypt ends up looking kind of boring because at the end of the day, you are in a desert.
You can do a lot of like cool stuff with like a Cleopatra like fucking mansion. I don't know what you call it. Palace or something, things like that. Yeah. Egypt inspired things.
No, I guess you could do cool, but
I always think that like before the new God of War was happening, I always wanted God of War. I wanted Kratos to just like fall through a wormhole and like go to Egypt and he'd be fighting like Sphinx beasts and shit. Like I thought because they have so much cool shit to draw from.
Yeah.
I always thought there could be a lot of like monster wise cool shit from that that's just completely unexplored.
Yeah, Egypt's a good one. The only reason I'm also kind of rolling Egypt in my head is one of my last concept art contracts was for doing an Egypt-based game. It was a futuristic sci-fi, but the tech came from this it's like fucking Stargate, like Egyptian,
pyramid globe.
Yeah, like glowy techie pyramids and shit. So it's kind of fresh in my head. But you're right. Actually, if you think about games in general, most of the time they skip over that.
Yeah, it's very underrepresented. Yeah, that's always one that comes to my mind.
Yeah, Africa's a big one.
Yeah. I can only think of one game. Resident Evil 5 takes place in Africa, and that's... Oh, there's a game called, I think, Africa. Takes place in Africa. There's two. It's a photography game. Do you remember this? It was on PS3?
Yes.
And you were, like, going around and you just photograph hippos and shit? That's all it was?
There's a game called Africa.
Is it just called Africa?
I don't know, but it's just funny because you're like, there's no Africa games. Maybe there's a game called Africa.
I think there is.
I think you're right. It's just funny. But there's not even a lot of classical Africa stuff like that. Actually,
it is. It's just Africa.
Yeah. What's that game coming out? This new one. It's a little bit like that actually, and it's like the girl and she's like going insane from something that's torturing her.
Oh, Hellblade.
Is that it?
What the fuck it's called? Yeah.
It's got an African feel to it.
Yeah, a little bit like kind of tribal stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah. So tribal things have been kind of touched on, but not a shit ton.
Well, tribal stuff has been. There's been some caveman stuff. That's not. I was gonna say caveman era type stuff, but like, there's been some.
There's been lots.
I
mean,
I feel like we've gotten a lot of like 1920s, 60s stuff.
Yeah.
Inspired by. There's been quite a bit of
the
that.
steampunk age stuff that's all come across. I would actually like to see something kind of set in the 80s and 90s now.
Yeah, like 80s. Again, I like 80s a lot, but you're right, yeah, even the 80s or 90s. What is the 90s defining style? Fanny packs and fucking pink and green?
Grunge, really.
Like zigzag patterns? Like, I don't know.
Grunge at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah, grunge stuff. Too.
Yeah. Actually, it'd be really cool. They have been done, but one that is underrepresented is going back to like the 1930s and 1940s, like pre-war kind of period, like, do classic jazz days of, or not 1940s, maybe 1950s. Judy Garland kind of age. Is
that BioShock? Is that what it's drawing from? Or is that
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, BioShock does actually come a lot from that. But the thing is about BioShock is it was all shot inside of those like fucking tubes and canisters.
In Fallout pre-war, it was like 1950s.
Yeah, but it's like again bombed out. Like something set directly in that period where everyone actually literally has top hats and little women have like their umbrellas and shit and everything's black and white. Like something really honestly set in that time.
No, you're right. It's always like it's like a stylistic take on it where something shitty happens.
Yeah, which usually when something shitty happened, I would like to have a stylistic take where it's set in that and maybe it's like a utopian future and you're the opposite.
Oh, the only one I can think of is that fucking L.A. Noire. That game that was like their 40s, 60s.
That's
something, but
yeah.
like, yeah.
That's a big one. Like the whole gangster mafia time and time of prohibition and stuff. That one's been covered a lot, so I don't really need to see a lot of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of the more Central Asia stuff, too.
What about, sorry, I don't know how much time we have left, but like...
5 seconds.
Oh, well, art styles was also a question. What underrepresented art styles were there? But I guess we'll just never fucking know. Yeah. Just never fucking know.
Underrepresented art styles, though. I don't think anything... Actually, that's why I skipped over it, because I don't feel like there's any art style in gaming that's ever truly been ignored.
I don't know what you're thinking by art style, but, like, definitely... Have you seen David Jaffe's new game?
No.
It's, Hold on 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up for...
well, I mean, like, I've seen... While you're pulling it up, like, I've seen stuff like African stuff, like Patapon. I've seen...
Oh, Patapon's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one. Japanese stuff is clearly overdone. You know, like, I've seen games based on Brazilian things. We've got fucking games set in all of those countries.
Like, I'm thinking about something like this. Like, it is, like, cel-shaded in a way, but it's based on, like, a high school notebook style drawing, you know? Like, this was, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, this is fucking, that's kind of new. Like, the game, you know, it's all, like, something a kid drew, like, in fucking blue pen in his notebook. And this really struck out at me, like, oh, no one's ever really done that before.
No, I mean, there's always stuff that hasn't been done. So
that when that question was asked, this is immediately what came to mind. Where I was like, oh, this is that had never been done before.
Yeah, and I mean, there's always stuff that hasn't been done. So there's no such thing as there isn't something that hasn't been represented. But I feel like art in itself in gaming is always really strongly represented, especially with indie gaming. But like that's the thing, you get everything. You got like the weird tribal Africa stuff with Patapon. You've got this with like weird drawings.
What about
that? What's that comic book game? Remember back on the fucking SNES?
Comic Zone. Yeah, it was literally just called Comic Zone.
Yeah.
What about like a Sumi-E style, like Japanese, like wave thing?
Sumi-E.
Is that what's called? Sumi-E.
You're so bad at describing stuff.
Sumi-E. It's like a wave. Sumi-E painting. Look, it's a thing. Sumi-E.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got that covered right there. Okami.
Okay, yeah, one game. Underrepresented art style. But something like this. This is not what I'm thinking of, though. It's a Japanese, like, it's a wave. It's just a blue wave, Mike. Help me. Help me. What is it called?
Japanese calligraphy.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. It's like Japanese calligraphy paintings and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's a single stroke, brushstroke stuff. I've seen this represented also. There's another game that was like a Zen game, a mobile game that was done.
This!
Yeah.
Google Japanese wave painting if you're curious what I'm talking about. Something like that would be really cool, like in motion. Why did someone make it?
Or it'll be up on the YouTube version, but...
Why did someone put a fucking
Cookie Monster? Yeah.
You're just ruining classic art.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
No, but there's always something that can be used more. You're right. Like, the fact that Okami was the only game based on basically Japanese oil paintings. Or black ink.
I'm surprised no one copped that style, you know what I mean?
No, like, why did no one ever do it again? You're right. Like, as underrepresented goes, why do people not try and accomplish the same style again, but better?
Especially now that we have these systems that can do it. Like, Okami would look so fucking good now. Oh!
Yeah.
Frustrating. Okay, next one.
Pick out the poison, pick out the poison. Are you trying to pick one, like, just so you don't choke on it?
What?
You're like trying so hard to select one.
Oh yeah, I'm just going. I'm just trying
just
flowing.
Just flowing.
Do you get more excited for titles that redefine their genres in interesting ways but don't succeed, or merely ones that refine them and succeed to a higher degree?
Well, wouldn't you rather them to succeed?
This is not the question we've been offered, Mike. This is a fucking. Would you rather have something new that's shitty, or old and good? New and shitty, old and good.
Why would you want the shitty?
Because new ideas. Maybe something. There's a kernel of something. Fuck, what was that game called? Not Killzone. There was a game before Gears of War. It was like the first game ever to do that third-person cover that became synonymous with that generation when Gears of War kind of perfected.
Well,
it was a shitty game, but it had that mechanic that then Gears of War stole and made a good game.
If you're talking about the development process, I would rather people attempt things that turned into shit, and then we got good things from it.
And then influence people later.
Yeah. To make the things that would eventually become the old that we always liked. So no, I don't want constantly rehashed, like, Final Fantasy suffered from doing the same thing for too long, like...
That's true.
So, yeah, and they shittied it up for a while trying new things, but they eventually found their sweet spot.
Would you say that 13, or you say 15 is a refinement of what they did with 13?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they wanted to do open action combat, but they wanted to keep the turn system in because they were still listening to too many people wanting the classic styles back in without fully committing to adjusting to a new style, blah blah blah. So
again, it still boggles my mind that they were like nervous about the action oriented thing. That would be like the one thing I was confident in about that game. I would be like, no, people want the action.
Yeah. But so like I guess the answer at the end of the day is I would prefer to have people try new things, but just going that I would rather people always try new things and make it shitty.
It's like a gypsy curse has been placed on you.
Yeah.
It's like anything new you create is terrible.
And
but
for all things forever, new would be shitty, and all we would have is shitty things forever.
Well, this isn't like a curse. Like every game is like that. I think it just means in general. Like put yourself in the shoes of like what's my Devil May Cry 5 is gonna come out. But like I hear they're gonna make a new system with it, and it's gonna be like, oh god, is that? But it turns out to be shitty. Or would I rather have like the classic Devil May Cry, but just refined even better? Or I want them to do some new system.
I know your answer.
Where fucking Dante has like I don't know tap dancing shoes, and you have to DDR it up or whatever they're doing, right? Yeah, I would much rather have a refined, an even better refined version.
I would actually prefer to have a fucking Dante in fucking like 6-inch sparkly drag stiletto heels doing DDR. That would be so much better.
I can accept that as a cutscene, but not as a gameplay element.
I want the game to just start off with him literally just in heels. You know, like the demons are surrounding him, and he's like doing his dun, 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 dun. And they all just like stop, turn around, and just walk out. He's changed, man. I don't know.
It's for the worst.
It's not anything.
The game doesn't even tell you need a dance pad. You keep failing this part. You're like pressing all the buttons. You're like, what the fuck? Nowhere on it does it say that you actually need it.
No matter what you do, everyone just gets sad.
That's the new thing they tried. Let's not give them the thing. You actually need the Guitar Hero controller to complete the game. That'd be terrible. That'd be fucking awful.
I'm also going to try and make a game just like that and see if it works. It's meta. No, of course. I mean, yeah, I'd rather have people try things and fail, and then
other people can iterate on it.
Yeah, other people can iterate up on it. But there's nothing wrong with the classics and bringing them back every once in a while. But the thing is games come out so fast now. Like back in the day when it used to be like 3 years between a game, like you'd be sitting there just going, "Oh, fuck, I haven't played a Final Fantasy in 3 years." All I wanted was just more fucking Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. But now that they're coming out and we're sitting in situations like we are right now where we've got 3 AAA titles coming out within 3 weeks of each other, I'm like, they all better be fucking 10 on 10s or I'm just going to like quit.
Life is too good now. If you're not 10 out of 10, get out of my office.
So, I would prefer new things at this point because I don't want to pick up fucking Mass Effect and suddenly have Mass Effect 3.5, Mm-hmm. I want new things. I want this jetpack to be cool.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost like on a case by case basis actually for me.
Yeah.
Like Devil May Cry, I would be like, don't fuck it up. Just make what you did but better. Now I don't need you to try and think you're innovating.
Or well, I mean, even look at Final Fantasy Remake, right? Like they're reinventing Final Fantasy VII, which is a horrifying prospect. Like most people are just like, just add new graphics to Final Fantasy VII. That's all we wanted, right? Was that the better option, or is what they're doing the right option? Mm-hmm. And I mean, like as an honest question, like, do you think that them doing this action-based thing is the better option, or should they have just updated the graphics and kept to the old system for something like Final Fantasy VII?
My mind is only going to like business things, and like they would never fucking sell now. To this traditional one, even if they just did Final Fantasy VII, but like prettier, that would not work. I know there's probably a chunk of people that want that, but. There's a mod for that, I think, on Steam, so go knock yourselves out. Alright, next question.
Mm-hmm.
DLC/microtransactions were heavily derided when they first came onto the scene. Now it's just a regular part of life. Has it gotten better or worse?
Repeat?
DLC and microtransactions were heavily derided when they first came onto the scene.
Yes.
Now it's just a regular part of life. Has it gotten better or worse?
I mean, at the time of that question, it would have gotten worse, but I'd actually say now it's gotten better.
Yeah, there was like a real low period, and now I think it's gotten slightly better. Still not great.
Not great.
The thing is, I'm so like... How many pieces of DLC have you ever purchased, Mike? Like, I've maybe gotten like 5.
The only time I've ever done DLC, as I quote in the air, is most of the time I buy a deluxe pack version of a game before I
get like the Game of the Year version, and you just have everything.
Yeah. Like, where they're like, here, you can have, like, the extra armor and extra skin and extra blah, 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 fucking bullshit. There you go, right? And, yeah, I'm okay with that. But, like, buying stuff in the game, I've done it for Overwatch. I've bought coin or chests, right, so that I can randomly unlock stuff with that. I've done it for League of Legends for new skins.
I feel like there was a really shitty period in the middle of what this question was probably asked in like 2007, 2008. And, in the middle of, like, then and now, there was, like, a shitty period where, like, everything had a season pass and everything was, like, there was just a ton of DLC that, like, it was just, like, do I need this? Do I not? Is it, like, dumb? Ubisoft is still pretty, like, infamous for having, like, looking at their pre-order bonuses and all the DLC, like, from different places. You're like, how the fuck is anyone supposed to keep track of this? And what you want or, like, all this shit. Yeah. But overall, I think it's gotten better. And I think a lot of it is just so, like, unnecessary. I don't care if I don't have it.
Yeah.
Like 90% of the time. Even the things that I do want, like sometimes, like for Arkham Knight, I was really excited that they're making a Batgirl DLC. And then I heard the Batgirl DLC was, like, bad. And I was like, oh, okay, so I don't care. Like,
well, I mean, for the stupid microtransaction content, like, that's actually improved. Like, back in the day, they used to be like, oh, you need, well, as a good example is the Dead Space one, where you're like, if you don't buy this thing, you have to wait an hour for it to show up, right? Like, it was stupid shit like that for a long time. And it sucked, but nowadays it's usually like, here's a cool cosmetic item, or you can buy some items.
People have gotten a lot better about, like, not gameplay altering items. It's like, it's cosmetics.
And even if they are, like, it's just like, if you got this, you win every fight. Way to make your game boring, but you bought it early. Good for you. Like, that's really about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't think of, like, a ton of... Evolve was really bad. It was packed with DLC, actually. They did a lot of, like, shitty things. And they kept, like... There was, like, $225 worth of DLC with that game. It was like other monsters, other weapons, skins, all this shit, and it was like, holy fuck, you've like barricaded half the game behind fucking downloadable content like that people need to pay for extra. Like that, and that was pretty shitty. That was kind of a rare case. That was almost like the worst of it. You know what I mean? Like, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. But
overall, I've just never really cared about the DLC stuff. Like,
I don't care about the additional content though. Like, Dragon Age Inquisition had, I think, almost like another 40 hours of story gameplay they released after the game, all free.
Oh wow, good for them.
I think it was all free, or at least it was all free at some point at the end of the whole thing. I never played any of it, and apparently it was all amazing. It was just like literally getting another Dragon Age Inquisition for 40 more hours.
Mass Effect obviously also had like some great extra content.
Actually, it did. I played those ones, but like very infrequently did I ever play those. But for some of the games, like The Witcher, it's additional expansion content was amazing.
Oh man, like, but the CD Projekt Red is like the best case scenario. They were like, here is again, it was kind of during the Inquisition thing. They're like, here's a whole other part. We're giving you like 5 free DLC packs. Here you go. Like, some of them were like skins, but other ones were like at new quest lines and all this shit. But then when they finally made like a huge big one, they were like, it's here's $15 and it's like 50 hours. You're like, what?
Yeah.
You guys are real nice. You know, like, yeah, they're like best case scenarios. But also there's shit like, but this is also mobile gaming, like Pokemon the Go, where like,
oh fuck,
pay for more Pokeballs because if you didn't live near a Pokestop and you couldn't spin anything, you just fucking had to buy them, and shit like that, where you're just like, well, this is garbage. But like, by and large, transactions in mobile games are garbage.
Yeah, well, I mean,
they've always have been. They always will be.
That's just how mobile games developed and turned into, and that's why like I don't see a lot of the phone mobile game thing except for the casual gamer. Like, we're not running out and playing mobile games as gamers.
No, the ones I do don't really have that shit.
No,
Tomb Raider. I played Tomb Raider Go. The ones I'm thinking of are like Eidos games. It's all the Go series: Hitman Go, Tomb Raider Go, and Deus Ex Go. All fantastic games. I think you might be able to pay to like show them. It's like a line that shows you how to complete the level. It's like, okay, and like, good on you putting it in there in case someone's like a real idiot and like can't do it. Like, that's fine.
No, I think it's reached to a good point. I'm actually not bothered by it anymore.
No. People were very outraged for a long time about it, and even back then I wasn't like super... I never felt like I was missing out, is really what it was.
I'm happy with where it's turned into.
Yeah, it's fine.
You can ignore it, basically, and that's the good part. Like, you can ignore it and it doesn't change anything.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next question. When is the right time to announce a game? I think we both have basically the same answer on this one. Like, Fallout 4 style.
I mean, like, what's the best setup? I mean, like, if you're talking about best time of year, like, whenever the fuck you want.
Yeah. I don't think the timing really matters as much anymore. It's weird, actually, because...
Or a location. Like, E3 is, like, if you've got something cool and you really want to make an impact, like, dropping a trailer at E3 is the best place to do it still, despite everyone being like, fuck E3. it's still
you get a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah, you get a lot of eyes, and it gets a lot of coverage and a lot of news, you know, and they're opening up to the public now. But like other than that, like no time of the year specifically do I care about the best.
No, I mean there's been patterns, but it's also these weird like preconceived notions like summer is always a dry spell in gaming, almost always, and it's like how's no one picked up on the fact that like we could all use a game during the summer. We still go outside, but we would still go home and play a game.
Because it's actually based around business model, because most people take their vacations in the summer. So your workforce decreases drastically.
So get the game out for summer. You don't have to work anymore.
No, but
just get it out.
Trust me.
What do you mean? What is the difference? Like,
no.
Get it done for the summer. Then you take the summer off.
No, but it slows it down. If you have a 3-year cycle for a game, right? Every summer, everyone takes it off, right? So anyways.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Like over time.
It escalates up to that point, and if everyone's like if everyone's taking off at summer, and everyone always takes off at summer, and everyone arranges to have their holidays around the same time to go up to the cottage and shit, and take less time to work on stuff. Like if you work as a freelancer, summer always even slows down contract wise. Like that's when everyone goes off and does their stuff. So even your bosses are out doing their thing, right? And that means that no one's around to put the game out. So that means like you got a skeleton crew like Destiny being like 5 people going like, Destiny's out, please make it work.
Can you play it? Please. Yeah, well, there's also things like where sometimes early, not this year, but early in the year, a lot of times there's also a small drought in the first 2 months. And I guess it's because there was a huge release in November, December with all the Christmas games. And again, like occasionally a game will come out and it'll do really well, and it came out in February, and everyone's like, what? It sold well? It's like, yeah, and there was nothing to play, and there's tons of hungry people who didn't want to play Call of Duty or something, and they just latched onto this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, in a general sense, announcing a game like how Fallout, Bethesda did it, they just denied Fallout 4 existed for years. Just, no comment, no, we don't know what's a Fallout. We have no fucking, what is it? Who did it? We don't own those anymore. And then one day they just like, bam, Fallout 4 exists, and it's coming out in 4 months. And that is... I would say in most cases how you should do it, you know?
Heck, even BioWare did it this time with Mass Effect Andromeda in a way. Like, we knew it existed and we knew it was coming along for all these years.
Well, they fucked it up real bad if they were trying to do it.
No, that's the thing. But in a way, because everyone said, even the IGN and the people who went in to go see the gameplay finally and all that, they were like, man, BioWare was tight-lipped about this shit until now. I think they just got so used to talking about it. That was the best they could do at keeping tight-lipped. They were just like, Mass Effect, fuck, I can't say more. You know, like, they're stuttering on it. But they did the same thing, because they were just, like, trying to contain
Except when they showed trailers for it 3 years in a row, and then tech demo that was, like, really underwhelming, and then...
That's what I mean by them stuttering.
Yeah, they're really terrible. Like...
But all the content released only 3 months ahead of time, and the release date was just like, here's the release date. It is coming out now. There is no delay. There's no like, oh, expected in March of 2017. Like, it was just like, here. Like, we've been doing this.
Well, yeah, now, just recently, we've been like, here's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I can't see that being good for is, like, you know, a smaller title that's not going to have as many eyes on it. Like, obviously, Mass Effect's a big fucking deal. Fallout's a big fucking deal.
Yeah, we're talking AAA.
Yeah, it's not. Right. Yeah, like the fucking jazz punk creators aren't just gonna shadow drop this and be like, new Jazz Punk 2 is out, and like, no, who, what, why, why do we care? You know, that's not gonna really work.
Yeah, no. Or the what the fuck is that? The guys who did the games that are always silhouettes of a little boy, indie games.
Oh, Limbo
and the new one,
Inside. Yeah.
Have you played Inside?
No.
No. I keep on thinking I should.
No, last year's news. No, probably no. There's too many things this year.
There's too many things this
year. There's backlogs and stuff, but it's...
But, I mean, for indie games like that, you're right. Like, big... You gotta push and push and push and push.
Yeah, you gotta keep it in people's minds more. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for big stuff, like, just don't let... It tortures us knowing it exists. You know, that's the kind of thing.
That's the thing. I hate that. I hate...
Because for Mass Effect, for us, for years now, it's been like... Yeah. We know it's out there.
And we kept opening up fucking forums. People are like, in this game, you can drive the car. And in the next forum, like, you can drive the car and turn left. And we're like, oh, thank God, one more piece of information.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, any other way is just like kind of a cock tease when they kept tight-lipped as they did and then gave us nothing.
Yeah.
But like, we're like, it exists.
Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually kind of like that.
What do you mean?
They're just like, here's a couple of screenshots and one trailer. You know, there's grenades, maybe.
I think that'll be a fairly traditional rollout as they get farther in that game. It seems like they've only developed like the spider battle, the spider tank battle.
It feels
that's
like
all they talk about.
It feels like that's all they've done.
Yeah, like, well, that part's really dynamic.
It's like the whole first.
What about anything after that?
Yeah, like the whole first game is literally just the Mako reactor. You don't even get out of the first Mako reactor. Like that's gonna be the whole 40 hours of the game.
It's a 28-part series.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's yeah, they're fucked. I don't really like this question. Fave pixel art in a game?
No.
No, right?
Sorry, pixel art.
I can't. Here, let me give a real quick one. I really like Shovel Knight.
And I really like oh fuck it, just fuck me. Hyper Light Drifter.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Great one. Okay, I'm gonna put this one in because this was gonna be a topic for us, and then we changed it. This has worked better as a 5-minute question than a whole topic. How have you? How have? This is terribly written.
And you wrote it.
How have your game playing habits changed as you've gotten older?
Less.
Less, unfortunately. I love the life I have now, but I do constantly have these like almost like romanticized like little like dreams about like, man, what if no one knew who I was and I could just be a fat piece of shit and play Horizon for 40 hours straight, you know, like not 40 hours, but like
I arrange for myself to do that though. So like you're right, I get tired of craving that, and I've chosen a lifestyle where I'm not gonna have kids, and that's not gonna be my life because that's not fun in any fashion, and people need to stop fucking breeding. I'm sorry, I'm very passionate about the overbreeding side, but politics.
Bring it right into the podcast for you.
But you know, like I know that that's my life, but I know that I work and I love my work and I love my life. I love everything is set up, but I still miss that. So I set myself up to have 40-hour things. Like I know Jed's like, oh, I'm going to go up to the boat for like a week, and I'm like, all right, for 3 days of that, I'm ordering pizza, and I went to the store once. And that's it. Door closed. The only thing I do when I go outside is wait until it's dark enough to take my dogs for a walk in my PJs. You know, like, that's it.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And I get to do that maybe twice a year in total, ever. But it feeds that enough for me to feel like I've done it. Because the thing is that I do it and I have a massive migraine at the end of it. And I'm just like, fuck me, I shouldn't have done this. Like, you know, I don't feel great afterwards. But
well,
I feel
the thing is,
great
I have
that I
opportunities like that. My partner also goes on like long business trips, and last time she left, I was almost like remiss because I was like, nothing's out yet. Like nothing I want to play is actually out yet. Like I just sat. I think I watched TV more than I like played any games because it was just like there's nothing I want. So the timing just didn't work out. But
I even like that. Like I've had times where I had nothing to play, and my partner was gone, and all I did was ended up binge watching Buffy from beginning to end.
Sure, this is asking.
And that was just like amazing.
Yeah, this is asking about games though.
No,
game playing habits and.
But they have gotten drastically less since I was younger.
Yeah,
and but like, it's not worse. I mean, I miss having that much time, but I don't like.
Currently, right now in this landscape with Horizon and then Mass Effect being right there and Persona being right there,
ass.
I wish I was just like a fat piece of shit and I just barrel through them as fast as I could, so I could actually get them in all at the appropriate time. Yeah. Also, we have a podcast where we want to talk about things as soon as we can. Which is a little different. Obviously, we could wait, but it's also fun to be in like that, like the zeitgeist of like everyone's talking about it, right? Like if you see Logan 6 months from now, and you're like, "Remember Logan?" Be like, "No." Oh, it's like,
I didn't see the latest thing.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
It's funny though, because actually in current times now, the pressure to be up to date on so many things because people just talk about them right away, and if you like talk about Logan in 6 months, no one's going to care. If you come up and be like, I saw Logan, everyone's like, now?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
remember that part when? And they're like, no.
No, like, I don't care. Have you seen, like, fucking, I don't know, Alphabet Soup? And you're like, okay.
I love that you pulled that out for some reason. Alphabet Soup. I love it.
I was thinking, like, Ball and Cup. I was trying to come up with something old.
Have you seen Ball and Cup by Michael Bay? It's fucking amazing. Kicks Logan's ass right out of the water. Fuck it. The relationship Ball had with Cup, it was totally resonant.
And that scene where the ball went into the cup, it was so romantic.
I could not believe they showed that.
I cried.
I cried and I came.
Do you remember that time where the ball missed the cup? It was so much drama.
Crygasm.
No, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, totally. You know, it's like, as you'd expect, it got less as we got older.
But I don't. What I might make point is like, as much as you're right, like right now, I wish we had more time. I don't feel like.
Normally, that's not my feelings.
No.
That's the thing. It's.
I don't hate myself. I don't sit back and go fuck me. I don't like. I make time for it still, but I
Yeah.
spend time doing so many other things that are just as fun in the same context. It's never going to be wiped out of my life. I'll be playing games probably until the moment my fingers stop working, but,
Well, we both get arthritis.
Yeah.
Early, because we're artists too.
Yeah, there's already hurting. We're sitting there both using robot hands like fucking Stephen Hawking.
Yes. Getting other people to play the game for us. We're just fucking yelling at them. You didn't dodge at the right time!
Just a computer talking for us. Oh.
You didn't
Down.
dodge at the right time. You fucking idiot. Why do I even pay you to play these RTS games?
Well timed.
Alright.
We went through all the questions. We 5-minute questioned.
Yes, we did it. Another 5-minute warning in the bag. So, if you enjoyed this episode...
Please be sure to...
Yeah, wait, why am I doing your part?
It's
It's late, guys. We're sorry.
Yeah.
If you want to find me on Twitter, I'm at TheKelG. Mike is at MikeKentDraws. Pens and Pixels across all social medias. Pick your poison.
Mm-hmm. And please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to us on all major media outlets that we use. So
Whichever one you like.
Yeah, whichever one you like.
Do you like Stitcher? We have like 2 people listen to us on Stitcher.
But, you know, like us and subscribe to us on SoundCloud. Please drop us a rating on iTunes or subscribe to us there. You can follow us and subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Most of the time, Cal pops up some visual content that goes with anything we're talking about, so we don't sit there going, look at this picture on audio.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it is supplemented on the video.
Yeah.
In the video version, and I try to leave show notes in the show notes.
In the show notes underneath. So, yeah, please be sure to comment and participate as well. If you guys have questions you want to drop in for us to answer on the 5-minute questions we do in the future, please do so on...
you can email us at meetpensandpixels@gmail.com.
Yeah. Otherwise, guys, we'll see you next week.
And I'll keep talking in a creepy computer voice.
Goodbye, everybody.